Perfect. So, officially, hi everybody. Welcome to our 10th meeting. So, woo, 10 meetings. It feels like more, but it also doesn't feel like 10. Um, but yeah, so I will, oh my gosh. Sorry, my Zoom is all over the place. I sent three links in the chat. If you can't see it, let me know and I can resend it. But the first link is with the slides in case you want to follow along. We also have the crash data spreadsheet, which we looked at last time, and I also sent via email, but it's there for your convenience. And then at the end, the last link is on budget hearings that are upcoming. I'll talk about that later, but we are officially in budget season, so I do want to make you all aware of the hearings that are happening and when. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Okay. As always, feel free to interrupt me in case something does come up. All right, so quick review. It's looks like we didn't talk about much because it's only one bullet point, but we talked about so much last week. I mean, last month. So we basically just spent the time looking at crash data and really dissecting it and asking some really interesting and good questions about what the data was and um, how, like, what we should be looking for, what we should focus on. And the consensus was made that we didn't have enough information in the last meeting to make a good decision, not good decision, but focus on an intersection or two, just because we like you all needed a little more data and a little more information. So that aside, we focused on Washington Street and how there are multiple Washington streets. I believe the count is 7. It's crazy. But that data has since been disaggregated and in the spreadsheet, and I'll show you all a little bit behind it later, but there is count. So it'll tell you how many of each Washington street, and I'll explain that. I don't have to be talking about that right now. It's kind of a bore. So I'll leave that towards spreadsheet part of the meeting. But our agenda is check-in question, reminder to invite community, and like going back to the data, other reminders, and then a closing. So just a reminder, we are opening this up to community. And if there's anyone that you know is very passionate about um, quality of life and community safety, please, please, please feel free to send them this invite link right here. And once they fill out that form, I will send them information of our upcoming meeting. There was someone who did fill it out, but I don't think they were able to make it. I will be in contact with them to see if they'd be able to make it to our next meeting or if they're still interested in joining. But like Ashley, I know, for example, you did mention that you had some people in mind who might be interested. I believe that was you. So feel free to send them that form and then they could join our next meeting. And for those members who, like community members who really are passionate about it and join multiple of our meetings and seem really engaged, they will become official task force members. So if that's something that will really get them engaged, um, feel free to also mention that too. Um, okay. So looking at the data, oh, actually, before we dig into all of this, does anyone have question or concern? Okay, I'm gonna take that as a no. So, um, the fatality, so I do want to note the fatality data set and the crash data sets, both of them are, they were as of March, what is it? March 26th. So they're not up to date because I believe what they do is that they keep on updating it with every 911 call. This list has a total of 40,547 crashes. This is the crash data, not the fatality data. But it's over 40,000 crashes that are documented here. If you all think that we need a bigger data set, I could try to include the others that have happened or hopefully haven't happened since that time. But I think this is a big enough data set that we can really look at where the trends are. If you disagree, let me know and I'll be happy to add the other data in. So quick review of the data. So this is from Vision Zero. This is the exact same one that we looked at last time. So it goes by mode type. So bike, motor vehicle, pedestrian, street, like location type. So whether it was in the middle of the street or if it was at an intersection. For if it happened in a street, like what street was it? I believe this is between what streets. If it was at an intersection, what were the streets involved in said intersection? And then this is just a general quick count of the big streets that have been mentioned in the past as being problematic intersections, or, I mean, sorry, that have problematic intersections, or if they are big streets or like are known to be a little more hazardous to pedestrians and other people on the street. So intersection all, this one, I can actually hide it. It doesn't matter. This is so all of this intersection all tab and the intersection pedestrian bike tab, they all come from this full data set, except I've deleted all of the street crashes and only kept the intersection crashes so that we can just look at the full thing. And then I did another count. So you can look at it. Washington Street still had the highest. So Washington Street had 3,200 for the full set, including street, and then intersection data had 1,600. Still higher than the other ones, however, not as high as 3,000. Moving on to the intersection pedestrian and bike, this is basically this same data set minus all motor vehicle crashes. Now, I asked the people who are in charge of managing the Vision Zero database and asked them how it's coded because it was something that was brought up in our last meeting about how crashes would be coded if it was between different like types. So if it was a car and a bike or a bike and a pedestrian or a car and a pedestrian, how would it be coded? And they said it was by the most vulnerable population. So if a car hit a person, like a pedestrian, it would be marked as a pedestrian crash. If it was between a bike and a car, then it would have been a bike crash, etc. So the most vulnerable person who was involved in said crash is how it's coded. So this one just includes pedestrian and bike crashes, no like strictly motor vehicle on motor vehicle crashes and their intersections. I forgot to hide this part. It was supposed to yeah, that's just like coordinates on the map. Not very helpful, but it does come in handy when they're same, like there was Washington Street and South Street, and there's two different South Streets that intersect with two different Washington Streets. So the coordinates come in handy. But this is the full list. I've added these two columns, which is which Washington Street it is in the city and what neighborhood it's in. The neighborhoods there might be one or two that are off by a little bit just because I went mostly by zip codes and some zip codes kind of go past borders a little bit. But they're usually, if there's something that's off, let me know and I'll be happy to change it. And then this count spreadsheet, I mean, this counts tab is one of the important ones. I mean, I guess they're all important, but here you can see how many crashes they've been for every um sorry, how many crashes there have been for every Washington Street and then in which neighborhoods. Then you can see the total crashes in the full data set. How many of those were motor vehicle, bike, pedestrian, how many were street crashes, how many were intersection crashes, and how many were other. So that is it. Any questions for now before we go back to this tab? Or any observations or anything you'd like to comment on?
Was there any data on kind of the severity of the crash?
No. Uh, there was, so the data, it was basically just this. I mean, it has the longitude and latitude coordinates and it has the day and time. So the Vision Zero database goes from beginning of January 2015 to present day, and it
Hmm.
only tracks like when 911 was called. So there might have been like a car-on-car crash and the cops weren't called or whatever, and that's not on the Vision Zero database. But if 911 was called for a crash, it is on the spreadsheet within the time range.
Mm,
So here I have hidden it, but I can unhide it too if you'd like. It just, I don't know how helpful it would be. Unless we're focusing on an intersection that was somewhat recently upgraded or changed, then it might be worth looking at um the times, like when it happened. But yeah,
okay. So we don't get data on severity or like I guess what the cause or overall like impact of the crash is.
no, there might be some overlap between the crash data and the fatality data. So this is another thing that Vision Zero tracks. If there was a fatality during a crash, there might be some intersection here, and that can tell us a little bit about the severity. However, like some people, you know, are hurt very badly, but don't die during crashes. So it's really hard to find out what the severity is unless it's not in the fatality data set. If that makes any sense.
Hmm.
Yeah. So severity of crashes, that is something that is missing. I'm taking like physical notes. I will write up the notes after the meeting too, though. Any other observations or something that you want to bring up or have a question about? The fatality data has not been disaggregated though. It's just the crash data. However, it is from the same day. So March 26th was the day when the data was like uploaded. Not uploaded, downloaded from Vision Zero. I'll also share this in the chat. So based on this data, we can definitely see. Oh, I should mention the different Washington streets. There is New Washington Street. Actually, I'll talk about that one last. There's North Washington Street, which is the bridge that connects North End and Charlestown. There's, I mean, I guess they're both. There is a small Washington Street in Charlestown in addition to North Washington. They kind of like the street changes names and it goes from North Washington to Washington. There is the one that goes along Dorchester. There's one that is in Brighton that goes from like it goes out of the city too, but I only looked at I mean the data only has from in the city, like within the city boundaries. Um, the North Washington Street, I mean the New Washington Street. So on one side of the Forest Hill Station on the orange line, on the if you look at it bird's eye view, however Google Maps like shows it first, on the left side it will be Washington Street that comes from West Roxbury into Jamaica Plain. And then there's North Washington Street, which is like right in front of it, which just like connects between the other Washington Street that starts after Forest Hills on the opposite direction, which is really confusing. And I do have, what is it? Oh my God. Let me just look that up really quickly. Okay. I should have shared this. I'm going to share this document now, but this is what it looks like. You have Forest Hills here, Washington Street, North Washington, I mean New Washington, and then Washington again, which is why in this data set it's listed as West Roxbury, Rosendale, Hyde Park, JP. Then it's like North Washington. Then it goes from JP, Roxbury, South End, Chinatown, downtown. So I'm going to share this now in case it's helpful. That's not it. So going back to crash data, yeah, so we can see that most of the crashes are happening in Dorchester. There are a lot in Roxbury as well, and in Rosendale, which kind of took me by surprise. Oh, and Brighton. Um, yeah, I don't know if anyone would like to make a comment on that, anything that you've noticed. I know, Dylan, you mentioned last time that around Nubian Square, it gets like it's pretty bad around there. Um, I can definitely, if you know the name of of the streets, any of the streets that intersect Washington, and Nubian Square, I can also just do a quick search to see if there's like what those numbers look like. Because I know that you all do want to take more of a data centered approach on this.
Dade Street, or I think Essex, is right nearby.
Essex Street, one of seven.
Um,
Yes.
yeah,
So there are seven
right.
intersection crashes with Essex Street. And then you said the other one was
Oh, I said Dade, which is probably not going to appear because there's currently no traffic on it.
okay.
Um,
Yes. So
let's see.
yeah, and feel free like to look around and play around with the data too. That's and if you need me to do any of these numbers for any of the streets, also let me know and I can do that too.
Yeah, I think we may only have view only access for it.
Oh, okay, I can do that then. Is it,
Or at least for the fatalities when I clicked it open and we only had view only.
do you have view on do you have view only for crash data too?
Let's see.
Oh, that's not it.
Yeah, we have view only for crash data as well.
Maybe let me just this is the new link for crash data, and then this is fatality data. Going to fix that up now because I it does get a little weird to section it off. Um, okay. So if you would like, it works better in the full data set because then you can, or sorry, this one because you can, if you click on the three little dots at the top of the title thing, once you click it, you can select what you want to see. Like if I only wanted to see pedestrian, I would do that and it will show me all of the pedestrian crashes in
Mhm.
any of the Washington streets.
Yeah,
Or,
I made a duplicate of the fatality one just to see what the like filtering for pedestrians, and I was surprised, or not necessarily surprised, because I can understand why like pedestrians would have more fatalities than any other kind of crash intersection, but for there to be 91 fatalities from pedestrians feels like a lot. And I think there were 50, or there were only 11 bike fatalities and then 55 um, motor vehicle fatalities.
yeah, that's, yeah, I
Uh,
don't,
yeah, and the pedestrian fatalities stood out to me just, I'm wondering of like what's happening at those particular intersections or streets that a pedestrian is being struck. And it seems to be a little bit all over the place in terms of where. Although I don't know a lot of the street names in some other parts of town. Like I'm most familiar with East Boston and Brighton.
Um, it would be nice if they included like neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, what stands out the most to me is I see a lot of mass and Cass intersection
Yeah.
crashes. They
Hmm.
Mhm.
stand out a lot, unfortunately. I
Yeah, can
have,
we sort by that? Like
yeah,
the cross street? I guess
the
the first cross street.
by the first cross street.
Uh-huh. And maybe do like alphabetical. Oh.
Oh, alphabetical.
Yeah, if you like sort by alphabetical and then we could
Mm,
see it.
yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Good evening, everyone. I was just scared with the sorting of the addresses. I'm just concerned that we might lose the intersections since they're in alphabetical order.
Uh,
I can do
Mm.
that
I
too if
think you
you,
could probably undo
yeah.
the, yeah.
Yeah. So here now we're only focusing on pedestrian crashes at intersections, and then the first cross street is in alphabetical order. Is
okay.
that good, Christina?
No, I think I mean to say, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I think the data as it was, where how the streets were, will indicate where exactly the intersection is located. And if they're in alphabetical order as far as just street one, we'll lose the intersection.
Oh, like the data doesn't stay aligned with
Yeah, exactly.
uh I thought, oh, I wasn't sure if that I don't know how if that changes it. I would hope that it stays aligned with
I think it stays aligned.
I don't, I'm sorry, I'm not understand. I don't completely understand what you mean by aligned.
Okay, so just for an example, let's say, for example, Massachusetts Ave and um, Malnia Cass. With Street One, if Malnia Cass is in alphabetical order, we may not find that Melnia Cass is aligned with Massachusetts Ave on Street 2.
right.
Oh, okay, I see. If that, like, when that happens, what it'll do is that it'll have it under. So I'll undo it after, but just to sort it out, we'll have like Massachusetts Avenue here, and then right under we'll see Mass and Cass, and we could see Mass Ave there, Melia Cass here. So it'll still match up because the only thing that's being sorted is this. But for example, like I pointed at it with my screen, as you guys can see where my finger is. But for example, List Place and South Street, regardless of how which column is sorted, List Street will always go with South Street,
Okay.
if that makes sense. Like the data is
Hmm.
grouped by rows. So if you list by column, that row will stay intact as you sort it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think the data was like this is the first time that I'm really playing around with the sorting of the fatality data. And it came like that's just how it came out. And it's not sorted by date. It doesn't even seem to be sorted by mode type, like location, or streets. So I honestly don't know why it came out like that, but it's kind of just all jumbled together. But as I said, the rows are they're like grouped. So regardless of what you do, they'll stay the same.
Hmm.
I'm gonna hide the date and time. Unless you guys want to do it, like see it, then I can leave it out. Um, yeah. So would it be helpful if we looked at intersections and then try to match crash and fatality data? Or would you all want to keep on looking at it like this? Do we want to add in bikes, even though they were a minority, but still, like we could add in bikes and just see. that.
Kiara, I think you had a good point on starting with the intersections and going from there.
Okay. So if there's any intersection between, oh, this is, so side note, this orange box right there, the bad thing about having the counting in the same spreadsheet tab is that once you start to play around with it, it messes it up. Um, just because again, the rows are grouped together. So if a row is hidden because it's a motor vehicle crash or a street crash, then so does that count. It's still there, it's just hidden. But that aside, if there's any intersection between this data set and the crash data set, then I can find that out. It'll like unfortunately, I will have to do it by next meeting versus today, just because that does take some time, especially if I try to, um, yeah, it'll just take time because it's a lot of data to look at. However, um, how do I do this? So there seems to be, just looking at it, there seems to be a lot less Washington streets on this one because the data that I really focused on disaggregating based on our conversation was Washington Street. So oh, there's one. Oh, clear. So there's 6 fatality crashes that are recorded um, that happened on a Washington street. So I think it's fair to assume, actually, sorry, now that I'm saying this out loud, I think it's fair to assume that all of this data is also found here. So if this is helpful moving forward, what I can do is that I can highlight, I can look through this data set and find the intersections here and highlight them in red so that we can know that like this severity of that crash was a fatality.
Mhm.
If that's helpful,
Sounds
I could
awesome.
do. Yeah, okay. I'll definitely do that. Um, if there was no fatality, which hopefully there are none more moving forward. But if there wasn't a fatality, just bad injuries, again, I don't have access to that data. I can ask for it, but I don't even know if the city would be collecting that kind of data and how willing they would be to share it.
Hi, I'm curious about the two in okay, Corinth Street in Rosendale in Washington. Okay, it's right where I work.
Mhm.
I'm curious about that. And no, yeah. And then I'm also curious about the other, where was it? Mm, It's disappeared. There was another one in Raleigh that was on Washington Street.
There are quite a few. I honestly didn't think Rosendale had that many crashes in it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's getting worse.
Yeah.
it's a lot of
Washington
Cornell
Street and
Street.
Rosie is pretty messy.
Hmm.
Yeah. Cornell Street seems to be a big one.
Yeah, I'm very curious about those because I don't think this is information that our main streets knows about or is paid
hmm.
attention to. Oh, look at the ones in Archdale. Well, I have to say that the majority, like the two in Archdale and the one on Beachland Circle, those are both housing developments, or as I like to say, because I lived in them, the projects. Okay. And so that's something to highlight for those communities.
Mhm.
And when there's school buses, forget about it.
Yeah, that's
It's
also an
crazy.
interesting point to bring up because along, I mean, I never know when the name changes because it's just three names, one street. I just like it's a mess. But Poplar Street and Washington.
Mhm.
Oh no, sorry. I'm not sorry. I was just thinking of Poplar, not Washington. However, um,
The Poplar Washington Street is the same as, where was the other one? The Corinth and Washington Street. It changes name from Corinth, go down the intersection, then it becomes Poplar.
yeah, it's
Uh,
just it's so like, why can't we just stick to one name? It would make my I
Try
feel like
another
it make
city. I hear
because it
in
goes
Los
from
Angeles, it's all numbers.
oh my gosh, it goes from like Poplar to then Canterbury and then I think it goes
mm.
to South at some I don't even know.
Mm.
Um, but yes, that is
Come to town, I'll
important.
show you around Rosendale. We have good restaurants.
If you
And
have any
so even though
recommendations,
the
let me
like
know.
name of the street changes, it's like they're identifying it at the spot at which it changed, right?
Mhm. Yeah, so
Yes.
Okay.
basically if they say Corinth at Washington, it's the same as saying Poplar at Washington.
But there's still two separate incidents or
Yeah,
separate incidents. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll still I think what they'll do is that they'll track it and write it like they'll make a note of it where it happened. So if it happened and the street had already become like South Street or Poplar Street or whatever the new name of that street is, they'll record it as that new name versus just
Mhm.
the other one, if that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
We have a
Uh,
lot of kids and we have a
mhm.
lot of elders at this intersection. There's a elder community, the second block from where Poplar and Washington or Corinth and Washington is. And so that's why it stands out to me.
Mm.
And we have a lot of school bus and as well as MBTA bus.
I like
So
that we're looking at intersections because I think the intersection is theoretically the spot where it should be safest to cross.
yeah, yeah,
And you should have like the stoplights, the stop signs, the walk signals. And so I think my question for like where these crashes are happening, was this like human error or was this like error in the part of any of these like different types of functions failing. So is this an intersection where there are stop signs, where there should be stop lights?
yeah. We
Are
have a
there,
lot of these issues.
uh-huh.
We have it. They put in a bike lane on Poplar. Okay, so cars and buses that go down there have an issue. Um, the for parents, people who are disabled or the seniors, it's difficult to cross Washington Street um, because of changes they've made. Um, and that's going to continue because of squares and streets.
Mm.
What changes have made it more difficult to cross?
These those yellow things, I don't know what they're called. The yellow sticks in the middle of the road. So
The flex poles?
yeah, those that has made it more difficult. Um, yeah, it's primarily that right now, but they are thinking of changing. We're no longer going to have a pop Poplar Street near Adams Park. That's going away. So
The
What
flex posts or um
no, the street. There will be no more street.
what are
oh,
they planning on doing with the street, if you know?
That street is going to be blocked off, a pedestrian way. This is
oh.
what we've heard. Okay.
So it'll still be there. It'll
Yeah,
just be a
but
pedestrian way.
Okay.
and if you're coming from Cummings onto Washington Street, it's not no longer one way. It's going to be a two-way street going back and forth on in front of Adams Park, coming from Cummings.
I thought it was always that way.
Nope. You gotta if that area you have to the two-way, in order to get, let's say, from Forest Hills to Rosendale, you have to go around Adams Park, and people usually take that left to get onto Poplar. That's disappearing, so they have to continue down into Corinth Street, make that left, okay, and then take a right back onto Washington Street. Okay, because that's it's one way. Now they're going to make it two-way,
Interesting.
but it's all the changes confuse people.
Yeah, I will say, as someone who's also lived in Rosendale for almost my whole life at this point,
Mm.
I'm not very good with streets, so I will say that. I'm not good with maps. However, if I see it, I'll recognize it, even if I don't know the street names. So
Mhm.
it's definitely a little confused, but I'll be looking into that because it seems really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to focus only on Rosendale, but looking at different parts of the city as
Oh,
well.
definitely.
If anyone, Ashley, as our Brighton representative, is there any like thing that you notice about um the Washington Street in Brighton and just how it feels from a pedestrian point, not just so much the data that we have, but how does it feel being like a pedestrian walking the street, or how,
Yeah.
if you know, how it feels to be a cyclist on the street or someone using the mobility lanes?
hmm Um, I haven't biked along Washington going into the Brighton. It's funny, oftentimes when I'm biking towards like JP/Dorchester when I'm along Washington. But as a pedestrian, I personally find it relatively safe. I think the way the stoplights are situated there, like, because Washington, at least getting into the like Brighton Main Street area, I think that stoplight between Brighton Street and Washington Street. Um, I want to say it does that. I forget somebody named what type of crossing that is, where all the lights change at the same time, or the intersection changes at the same time.
Oh,
But I
That's
yes.
think that
scary.
happened. Gary Crossing, okay. And I noticed that in a lot of spots in Brighton, that type of function is there. And honestly, like, as a not safe pedestrian, like I will cross the street when the lights are not accurate. So, I probably in like best case scenario for knowing like, ooh, like how are pedestrians not being safe in this spot? I think it's still like a lot of visibility. The streets are wide. So you kind of get a good understanding of um like how much traffic flow there is and when you can cross like in a quote unquote unsafe manner.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I was trying to put up a map in case like we need a visual of it, but thank you for sharing that. And Mel, if you don't mind, what was it called again when all of the lights turn at the same time?
I think Mel might have said carrier crossing.
Or Carrier
Am I
crossing,
frozen?
something like
I
that.
heard carry as a couple of syllables, but I don't know what the full name was.
Oh, that's a company. When crosswalks. Okay. When crosswalks. What is that? Oh my God, I'm blanking. Crosswalks
Sorry.
turn.
Sorry, I couldn't get myself unmuted. So what was the question again?
What did you say that it was called when all of the like crosswalk lights turn on at the same time? On,
Oh, no, I don't. I just said it sounds terrible.
Oh,
That's all I said. I don't know what it's called.
okay.
Oh,
I
It's
thought you
Barnstable,
called
said
foolish.
New
something.
York.
New York. I'm from New York too.
Um,
What's
Yes,
it called?
New York.
Concurrent. Oh,
Oh,
sorry. I see Cambridge has it on their website. On current pedestrian sign. Let me see. Just do a little double check. Okay, so their pedestrian signals allow pedestrians to cross the street simultaneously with parallel vehicular traffic. That's not it. Often funding. I know that I feel like it was Aaron that mentioned it at our
I
last
thought I
meeting.
saw at the top of the last Google search
Barn
results that it
barn
said barn
stand.
stance.
Barn
Barnes,
stand.
Barn stance.
Barnes, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thank you I completely missed that. Barn stance. Okay, perfect. So now we know what it's called. And Mel, you said that you didn't like that.
I said, is it, okay, no, okay, so this is just 4 ways so that people can walk across the street.
Yeah.
That's what you're
So
saying?
you
Okay,
could
that's,
essentially cross diagonally if you wanted to.
okay, okay. No, that's good. I thought you
Oh,
said that everybody, all the vehicles could go,
oh no.
and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
no.
Oh no, it's strictly for pedestrians.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, those are really
barn stands.
safe
Yes, and I
usually.
have seen those.
Yeah, no, I've definitely, from my experience, I did get some weird looks because so my very first job, I would come home from the bus and it would leave me I, along Washington Street. It was Mel, you probably know the intersection between Washington Street and Beach Street. And so I would
Yep.
cross diagonally across that intersection and I would get weird looks because no one does that. I mean, there's not a lot of pedestrians there, but to see one like that completely like walks across the middle of the street, they were weirded out by it.
And
And they
we
got
don't do it in Rosendale.
no, they don't because
We
it's
we go
weird.
from one corner to the next corner.
I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, and then when I did that the first few times, and then I really saw that they were all like I could walk, like you could walk on all of the four corners. So I was like, why am I wasting my time doing an L if I could just,
And I've seen some cities where they'll put a diagonal dotted line to like help pedestrians know that they can cross that way.
that's
I have like the first time I encountered it, I was in Connecticut and I saw a bunch of people crossing diagonal. I was in high school and my mind was blown. I was like, oh, this is amazing. And so ever since I saw like whenever I see lights change that way, I'm immediately diagonally crossing if I have to do that.
yeah, no, and that's a great point. I think we have also spoken a bit on this before, but bringing up that not all intersections give enough time for pedestrians to cross. Some of them are very short, and if you aren't a fast walker for whatever reason, or if you have mobility issues, it becomes a challenge to cross the street without the light turn, like the car light turning green and you being stuck in the middle of that intersection. So while the Barnes dance seems to be like a really great idea, we also do need to keep in mind that not everyone will have enough, like not everyone might, sorry, let me rephrase that. Everyone might not have enough time to cross the street completely
Yep.
before the lights go off. So something else to consider. Um,
Yeah.
and another reason why I really disaggregated the data on intersections is because we have been talking about daylighting crosswalks, and you can't really daylight the middle of the street. That would require, that's a little, I don't know if that's possible, but intersections can be daylighted, and um, it has been shown to improve safety. So if we can focus on an intersection or two to really like redesign almost, and then we can figure out like more logistics around it, but just two that the data show are very um dangerous for pedestrians and just anyone who is on the streets, then we can figure out what specific challenges they've been having and what we can do to address them. Um, Long term, this would help just focusing on two would be a lot more manageable. And also, it's easier to get other people on board because my very rough and not very good estimates showed around 2,000 to $5,000 per daylighted intersection, which is a lot of money, but compared to like all of the money that the city is proposing in the budget, it is not a lot. It's not a huge ask. And so it's more palatable to start that as like a pilot program, just two little intersections to fix.
I
That
think
makes sense.
Something else maybe that's
Mhm.
possible to consider is um, if we can get this data, um, like just like why the accident was happening, was it like due to visibility? Because then like I would be hesitant to like suggest daylighting in locations where it wasn't a result of like the level of visibility. And then I guess like aligned with like daylighting. I was recently like walking to work and I saw a like essentially a driveway that had a mirror that was in it to like create more visibility. And I don't know if that could be more cost effective than daylighting and might make some drivers happier because it doesn't take away their illegal parking spot.
My understanding is that daylighting, it isn't just about visibility, that it does tend to reduce car speeds.
Mm.
Um, and the mirrors, the data show them to be really ineffective.
Um,
Same with actually with like flashing lights at crosswalks. They really don't accomplish much.
mm.
Yeah, but actually redesigning the intersection so that the travel lane is a little narrower for motor vehicles. Um, that like that instantly slows everyone down and makes the intersection way safer.
Yeah, they're afraid to hit somebody's mirror.
Yeah, and also there's just a psychological effect that the wider the road, the faster people drive.
Yeah, I think that was a point that was brought up in one of the sources on daylighting. I can reshare those later, but it was something that was brought up a little while ago. So thank you, Dylan, for bringing that up. I did it as someone who is now driving. I take comfort in seeing the mirrors because it gives me sometimes at intersections it's a little hard to see if a car is coming, and having those mirrors there just makes me it like it how do I say this? It helps me to make sure that I am not going to be involved in a crash. However, it is interesting to hear that they're not very effective. And I do agree. I think that the lights, it's like a suggestion, it feels like sometimes, because anyone could just say, I didn't see the lights or just ignore them. But if it's the street is narrower and you feel like you are going to hit someone or hit something, then you will slow down and that'll, yeah. And obviously, like as you said, making the intersection smaller for pedestrians to cross, that means that you won't have to um add in as much time for not add in as much time. That's not the right way to frame it, but um there will be less of a concern around whether or not pedestrians have enough time to fully cross the street because the street for them to cross will be shorter. On your point, Ashley, about the parking spaces, people park in them regardless, but it is illegal in the state to park within 20 feet of an intersection. Usually the signs are there, but signs are also, they can be interpreted as suggestions as well for some people. So you're muted, by the way.
Yeah. I'm not encouraging that. I don't even drive. So I'm a lifetime walker and public transportation user.
I thought it might be worth mentioning too that because narrowing the travel lanes for motor vehicles slows them down, that's also one reason that in general putting bike lanes on streets has data has showed it much safer for pedestrians, um, and also for other motor vehicles. There are fewer motor vehicle crashes when the cars slow down.
Hmm.
Christina, I saw that you briefly unmuted. Is there something that you want to add, or was that just by mistake?
Yeah, I was just gonna add that I was gonna list some pros and cons of like some of the experiences I have with Dorchester Avenue and Adam Street. So I think one of the pros I wanted to add was that You guys were talking about the Barnes dance, and that's something I've been doing my whole life really well. So I think adding the maybe not specifically the art installation, I wouldn't even say it's that. I think it's more so just having more time from crossing from one side to the other, where maybe extending the amount of time that's given um, may help people who are disabled or have strollers, etc., get from one side to another. Um, I'm trying to think of there are a few cons being that Adam Street is like a one way and people can't turn right, or like it's very confusing in that area as to how either residents or people that are trying to just commute overall get from one side of Adam Street to another, or if they're coming from Dorchester Ave onto Adams. It's the signage is a bit confusing there. So something I would say is maybe adding just more time on the crosswalk for people to cross could make a big difference there. Not even just there, but in general, anywhere.
Yeah, thank you for sorry, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I was going to say, oh, there was I think it might have forget where I saw it. I think it was the Peter Firth video that we talked about last meeting. But the there oh my God, how do I explain this? Sorry, I'm blanking right now. At specific intersections, there are sometimes people who can you all hear me? It's saying that my internet's unstable. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah,
at
video is frozen unless sound is stuttered, but sound is generally good.
I'm going to turn off my camera just in case that helps. But there are intersections where when pedestrians try to cross the intersection, or across the street at the crosswalk, at the same time, there are cars who are able to turn onto the street where pedestrians are able to cross. I don't know exactly if that's like done on purpose or if it's more of like, there's barely anyone here, let me just cross the street. I don't know what I'm not sure on the specifics, but I do remember seeing that somewhere, and I'll try to look for it and then reshare it. Um, but yeah, that was something that came to mind and I wanted to share with you all.
Yeah, in general, I like if we could just have no turns on red lights, that would instantly make every lighted intersection safer for pedestrians
Yeah.
and cyclists. It's something a lot of people, I think, have been wanting.
Yes. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. Is there anything anyone else wants to add? If you want to go back to the data, if you guys want to look into a couple more intersections, if there's anything else that you all would like me to do for the data, or like let me know how I can be helpful and how you all want to move forward with what we're doing. I can also put it up on the screen again if you'd like.
I'm not
Um,
sure if Kiara glitched.
did I just
Oh,
see Julia?
oh, that's
I
me.
saw her picture.
Yeah, that's her
No, it isn't.
picture.
It's not you.
It is no, it's me, it's me. Hi, that's her picture. I'm signed into her account so that I could be
Okay.
like the host
I
of the
was like,
meeting.
what?
Yeah. No, it was funny because when we first started the meeting, my name was like, Julia Mejia. And I sometimes forget to change my name. So I'll just be in a Zoom and they'll be like, Julia, are you here? And I'm like, oh no, it's just me. I have to rechange my name. But it's just me. Um, yeah, I don't know if you all heard me or if I froze on that part, but um, just wanted to know if there's anything other than me highlighting all of the fatalities and the way that that data intersects. Is there anything else that you all would like me to do to the data? Is there any intersection that we can, at least maybe one of them, can come to a consensus around something that we'd be interested in looking at in the future or are committed to looking at, just so that we can move it forward. If you all feel like we don't have enough data, we can definitely like come back next meeting with more data or more information if that's helpful. However, yeah, no. I don't know if I froze or if she froze.
Who, me?
Yeah,
Mel?
yes, you will. I thought you were going to say something, sorry.
Would it be, okay, so we're going together, working together as a group on whatever streets we choose or intersections we choose. But
Yes. Mhm.
would like I was thinking of people who, if people had um particular areas they were interested in, that work on those areas, okay, and then come back together and
Interesting.
work
So it's
together.
like, do you, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically dividing us up and we would all choose
Choose,
a
choose.
few areas to really
Mm,
look at and then share out in our next meeting?
You
yeah,
mean like nominate candidates from multiple geographic areas and narrow it down from there?
streets, well, intersections, nominate intersections.
Right.
Mm.
So, but in terms of who is in what group, that's like we would break into groups for people who wanted to look at intersections in a given neighborhood so that they could
Yeah,
choose some candidates, and then we come together and
yeah,
um
yes. Or or
For
am I?
me, sorry to
Mhm,
interrupt.
mhm.
Go ahead.
For me, I probably need more data, just so I can make a sound decision as to at least maybe like a top three of what we can focus on. That way we could put all of our energy towards those major ones, or at least maybe we could rank them based on
So
a
maybe this would be for not May, but June.
yeah, for the
No,
next
you do
meeting.
right for what, do what you're saying, doing the ranking, and then decide which intersections at the next meeting, and then from there, you know, people or a group can go forth for different areas.
So,
yeah, I think a drawback of splitting it up like that would be that if we're only going to be able to daylight two intersections, um I think it might be hard for people not to feel like they need to lobby for the ones that they picked, you know? Like
Mhm.
it 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 might make the most sense to try to let the data do a lot of our choosing for us and just see, like, where by objective measures there seems to be the most danger,
A
and like
hundred
maybe
percent.
like look at the top 10 like just by the numbers, and then out
Mhm.
of those we can sort of eyeball them and say, well, this intersection we know has these kinds of issues, and those might be helped by the daylighting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I feel like we need more data because I feel like I can't go based
Okay.
on so much data that we have, but maybe like a more focused concentration of those top 10 where it's not to leave any other intersection out, but at least so that we can see it with smaller data sets. That way we can go from like the 10 to the 3 or the 5 that we can really focus in on, and then we can touch on 4, 5, 6.
Is that
Yeah, and
something that you can easily do now, Kiara?
So I'm just gonna repeat what I've understood you all are saying, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong, just so that I can start to think about how I can do this on my end and then share back to you all. So you all want more data so that we can look at like the top like 6 to 10 intersections that the data says are the worst, and then do some sort of ranked choice voting as to the few that we will really narrow, like laser focus on, and hopefully daylight in the future. Did I understand that correctly?
That's my
Yeah.
intention. I think that will be the most helpful. That way we're not like all over the place and we can really hone in on what the data says and also still focus on these other ones, but put high priority on the ones that we can all agree are like top three, maybe, or the top concern.
Okay. Would you all want me to choose the top 10, or do we want to choose the top 10 now and then I can get more data and more information on those 10, send it out so that you all have the information, and then we can do that ranked choice voting in May? Or do we want to do you said voting in June, share out information and narrow it down a little bit May.
Yeah.
what I was thinking was more that if we can decide on what criteria would determine what's in the top 10, then ideally it would just be a matter of of doing some sorting of the data that we have, and such that you could see like, okay, well, we said that we wanted to for our top 10, we wanted to uh I'm just picking something. We wanted to um look at where the most pedestrian fatalities were. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could come up with more than one criterion, but if we agree on the criteria, and then we could maybe let Kiara, or if any of us are feeling great about spreadsheeting, um, could like then sit down and say, okay, what fits the criteria, and here are the top 10.
I think
Yeah,
this is a great idea.
yeah,
And I
so
think building from like the data piece, it might be worthwhile doing a field trip to the top 10 that we've chosen.
That
If
sounds good.
yeah, we have the ability to just like actually like see
Yeah,
the ones that we've narrowed down.
yeah, I love that. I love
that sounds really
all of
good.
that. Yeah, yeah. So, okay, we can, how's this? So that we can have, I can set up like a office hours type of thing, which I'll have like a Zoom or Google Meet open and anyone can join if they'd like, and I'll just be working on the spreadsheet, and I did like use like applying the criterion that we talk about now into the spreadsheet, so that if anyone wants to do it along with me, or has like anything they want to add or whatever, they can just hop on that Zoom with me and then we can just do it together. However, that would be completely optional if anyone wants to do that. Is that okay, or do you want
Yeah,
me to
that's
just
fine.
do
That's
it? Or
good.
okay, so I'll just have that. Okay, perfect. And then so, Dylan, you mentioned for the criteria, where pedestrian fatalities have happened the most.
Yep. Just the highest quantity of pedestrian fatalities.
I think that's a great one to start off at with one of the criterias.
Perfect. And then what else would you all want to consider? Do we also want to look at the current layout of that intersection? Are there like, as in, are there already some measures that are being taken, even if they're not working super well, or not, I shouldn't say that, not if they're not working super well, but if something has been tried in that intersection versus if it's just like the Wild West intersection. Does that make sense? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so if we're looking at the current layout, do you want me to keep in mind if there's been any, um, like if there are bike lanes in between the street and the crosswalk that would allow for vehicles to have some sort of visibility as to who or if there's anyone trying to cross, or um, would you all want me to look at more of if the crosswalk has been like pushed out a little bit, therefore making that crosswalk shorter. Um,
Yeah, I think those
I'm
are worth.
trying to think about like maybe how to minimize your homework. Um, what I was thinking was that if the initial sort was something that was pretty easy and could be done mostly by just deciding that we're going to look at these numbers and whichever numbers are highest, like then um, the if we make the list to narrow down long enough, then when we are narrowing them down, we can bring the other considerations in. um I had thought top 10 would be long enough since we were only going to do two, but but I would trust other people's judgment as to whether, if that were the pattern, we would want a longer initial list. What do you think?
we could also do like the have the criteria on the pedestrian fatality and like which intersection has had the highest fatality rate. And then with all like counting those numbers, doing basically what I did already and just looking at um who has the highest fatality, who has the highest number of crashes. And then once it's narrowed down to 10, I can take like a screenshot of that intersection from a bird's eye view just so that we can have a visual of what it looks like
Yeah,
instead
that's
of just
great.
consider. Okay. So instead of considering current layout comes second in the process after narrowing it down to 10. Cool. And then is there anything else in addition to pedestrian fatality that you want me to consider as part of the criteria? Because again, that fatality list is thankfully not super, super, super long. It's just 150, including vehicle crashes and fatalities. And I believe that also includes street fatalities, not just intersections. I might be wrong,
Mhm.
but that means that there might not be it might not be the strongest. I don't I It's fatalities.
Yeah,
Like, it's going to be
small
strong,
sample
but
size, but
exactly,
yeah,
yes.
we want it to be zero.
Yeah.
Ideally,
It
yes.
is, yeah, so that's the whole Vision Zero plan is like that, and there's like it could get to pretty close to that. Like they have gone down with a lot of measures that have been taken.
Yeah.
Um, I'm as for like but I think that you're like it makes sense to throw some other things in there too. And so like the stuff that occurs to me off the top of my head would be like just roughly in order of the weight I'd give would be number of pedestrian fatalities, number of cyclist fatalities. And then I think I would weight uh number of crashes, of non-fatality crashes uh, with both cyclists and pedestrians. And I'd rank
And are you
number
saying
of
cyclists and pedestrians, like a cyclist and a pedestrian who are struck
no,
by each
no,
other?
because we
Oh,
don't
okay.
have that information. I mean, all collisions that involved a
Cyclists
pedestrian
and
and
pedestrian.
all
Okay.
collisions that involve a cyclist that we know of, because we don't know about cyclist collisions if a cyclist hits a pedestrian,
Okay.
then it just is a pedestrian.
Yeah,
I
so that
see.
is
Um,
the drawback.
but
Thank you.
those
Yeah.
those are so that rate of cyclist pedestrian crash is so low that that's why I'm not bringing that up at all, is that I just kind of don't see that as, if we're only going to do 2 intersections, I don't see that as the problem.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say very similar. Your rank was very similar to mine in my head. Going off of fatalities first, from pedestrians, and going into the ones that are non-fatal but still hit, like have some type of impact, would be the next ranking for me. I think we're on the right track there.
My thinking too is that if there is a collision that involved a pedestrian, it's safe to assume it was not a pedestrian on pedestrian collision that someone called 911 for.
Yeah.
So the chances that the injury was serious go way up if it involved a pedestrian or a cyclist versus a motor vehicle collision, like you can have a fender bender. But
Yeah, I think
there aren't
pedestrian to
really,
pedestrian tends to get ranked under assault and battery.
yeah, yeah, it's not a traffic issue. But any collision between an SUV and a pedestrian is very likely to be very serious, if not fatal.
Yes. So number one, number of pedestrian fatalities. Number two, cyclist fatalities. Number three, non-fatal crashes involving where the mode type is classified as bike or pedestrian. Uh, I can definitely do that. Is there anything else, like maybe a fourth category that we also want to rank it with, or are those three
No,
good?
what I have is an idea for data too. Walk Boston, okay? The I don't know, I think they're their own private. They did a lot in order to be come what they are in terms of coalition and trying to walkability all around the city may have some data. Okay. And I was just thinking that that might make things easier just to ask them.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
think they mostly use the city's data for local stuff, but they would know about studies that might be helpful for us to look at.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I'd be happy to hear any intel they've got too.
Yeah, I'll definitely give them a call and just see what they've looked at. So I'll send it right, I'll send it in the chat, but I do see that on their website they have annual reports. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm just looking through it. It has some basic information as to like crashes and fatalities, I believe. Um, but I'll look into this is just like just me skimming it quickly. That's a 2024 report. The 2025 is not out yet. Um, let me see. Financial report.
I think if you look at the footnotes of the older report, you'll be able to see whether or not it's the city's Vision Zero data.
Mm, that's a good idea.
With
Oh yeah, I could see it. Actually, their slide, it's on um slide 6 of the PDF. Year in review, the very first like text box is Vision Zero Coalition gathered. Oh wait, sorry. This is why I need to read things completely through before talking. That was just them gathering at the State House. There wasn't any actual numbers. But if they are mentioning doing work with the Vision Zero Coalition, my guess is that they are using Vision Zero data. Um, for more
it would
information
be
on
like for a nonprofit to commission their own when there's such a large overlap would be unusual.
yeah, for more. Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna get excited for it because I might be off again. But they have fatal pedestrian crashes in Massachusetts 2024, um, compiled by Walk Massachusetts, a statewide pedestrian advocacy organization. Um, I'll look into this a little more, and let you all know if they have any extra data, if they're using city data. I just put in the chat their fatal pedestrian crashes report that was part of their 2024 annual review. So feel free to look at that in case there's anything, but I'll definitely look into Walk Mass and give them a call and see where their information they're getting it from, and if it's something that we don't have access to that isn't part of the Vision Zero database, if we can have access to it. So I'll definitely do that. Thank you, Mel, for bringing that up.
Why reinvent the wheel?
That's yeah. Thank you. All right, so I have my to-dos. I will send out the office hours if anyone is available and would like to just number crunch with me.
Okay.
Feel free. Feel free to join in. And if you're not available at that time but still want to like number crunch, let me know and I can just put up another Zoom link. That's totally fine with me. Um, but yeah, so before it is 8, so it's late. You guys, it's late. I'm going to wrap up just by saying one last thing, or I'm gonna share my screen really quickly just because I do think this is very important. And I don't know if you all remember from last year, I think it was last April, when I did like a huge budget slideshow. And by huge, it was like it wasn't that long. It just the numbers were big. If you guys want me to do a slideshow like that where I go a little more in depth into the city's budget, let me know and I could do that. Or at least I could put the slides together and you all could take a look at it to see if there's anything that stands out or if you have any questions. But excuse me. So all of we're currently in budget season, which means that now the city council is looking at the budget, seeing what departments and programs are getting funded and what's not getting funded. But the budget is basically the city's priorities. So any budget reflects priorities, and we want to make sure that community, like their priorities, are also part of this budget. And we do want to make sure that all of the like projects and programs that you all want are funded in the city, which means that budget season is incredibly important to just get that money in there. So the budget did come out April 8th. It's out, but budget hearings on the council started, I believe, Monday. And they will be going until late May. It's held by Ways and Means. And every hearing has different departments. Usually, if it's a bigger department, it'll have one full hearing to itself. If it's a really big department, think like BPS, they'll have 2 plus hearings depending on what they're talking about. And usually if it's more than one hearing for a department, they'll split it up by topics. But I will put it in the chat momentarily. It's also right here. Just a complete list of all of the hearings that are happening. I do want to highlight though, there are 2 public testimony hearings happening, one on the 28th of this month and then one on the 26th of next month. They're from 6 to 9 p.m. There are multiple ways to testify. If you do want to testify, it's in person, it's via Zoom, it's like pre-recorded video, and it's also written testimony. So if you are interested in testifying in any hearing, please let me know. But this document, and I'll share it again, it'll just go through different budget like sources. So just what the city budget is, BPS budget, how to testify, how to watch them, and just the website for all the upcoming hearings. But this is it. It'll have the public notice there, the time, the date. I believe they are all in person in the INL chambers. That's at City Hall. If you aren't sure or just want to confirm, the public notice link is there, but feel free to also email me and I'll be happy to let you all know. I will say though, for working sessions, which are happening like later on in mid to late May, before the first budget vote, which I believe is the first council hearing of June, they aren't live streamed the way that regular hearings are. So, um, yeah, I believe they aren't live streamed.
Can we
If
share this link? Is it publicly
Yeah.
available?
Yeah, it's publicly
Okay.
available, so anyone with the link can see it. Feel free to share, and if anyone has any questions or concerns, please let me know. Feel free to call, text, email, whatever. I have, like, for those of you who have sent me any emails, I am so sorry for any delays that I've had answering them. I will try to get better. Semester's been rough. Once the semester's over, I will be on top of those emails a lot more than I have been. But if a day goes by and you haven't heard back from me, I think you all have my number. If not, it's also I can share it with you. It's not it's also in my like email signature. So feel free to call or text me and you might be able to get a faster response from me. Um, if you don't hear back from me within like 24 hours. So yeah, that was my quick little review of the budget. Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
Just
Nope.
thanks for that.
None
Yeah,
from
thank you for all your hard
Thank
work.
you.
Yeah, of course. And um quick way to end, one word to just end off this meeting and just wrap it up. So, how are you feeling after this meeting? What are you excited for in one word? If anyone wants to start.
Safer?
Progress.
Excited.
Informed.
Oh,
Mhm.
excited.
Uh, Vicky.
Informed. Pleased.
Oh, sorry. There's so much pressure for me to think of a word.
I could go first, it's fine. I will go with excited.
Okay. I'll say protective.
I love your words, guys. Well, thank you all so much for being here today. I have my to-dos. I will get them. I will open up those office hours and let you all know. Hopefully I'll have this before our next meeting so you can look at it a little more before we meet again. But thank you all so much for
So
making time out of your busy schedules to be here. And I hope you all have a good rest of your evening.
Thanks.
Thank you guys.
You
Have a
too.
great night.
take care.
Everybody enjoy the
Bye.
weather.
Yes, enjoy the
Bye.
weather. Bye.